This is B Hope. She's doing the interview. Hi, nice to meet you, Tom. Okay. Can you hear me? There, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's great. How are you today, Tom?
Okay for an old guy.
Well, thank you so much for coming to the Collaboration Comic Con. And just for our viewers, this is Tom McBeath. And if you're watching,
McBeath. It's pronounced McBeath.
McBeath? Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like death.
And if you want to support this Comic Con, you can click below on the link to our Patreon or purchase tickets. So thank you so much for being with us today, Tom.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you like to do?
Say that again a little louder, or here I'll just turn up my volume. Yes?
Would you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you like to do? I know you played one of my favorite characters in Stargate, but for people who don't know.
So who am I and what do I like to do? I ran away to the theater school in 1972. It's like a boy running away to the circus. I've been there, 72, and this is now 2020. So that's 30, 45, coming on 50 years. I haven't had to do, I've been very lucky as an actor. I worked a lot in the theater here in Canada for many years till the film and TV business hit Vancouver in the early 80s, I guess, mid 80s. It's always hard to make a living as a stage actor unless you move around a lot or get picked up by a major theater company. So it was when the business hit here, it helped finance my theater bug, which I still have. I still try and do at least one piece of theater a year if I get the opportunity. My last agent hated the fact that I did that because it pays so little that they don't make any money, and it takes you out of the television business, which is a little more lucrative for agents. Other than that, I've lived here in Vancouver since I came back here in 1975, and I've lived here for all those years. My partner and I have lived in this apartment building here in the west end of Vancouver for 20 some years now.
Oh, wow.
It's quite amazing. It's the longest place either of us have ever lived. What else? I tried to do a little bit of golfing. I'm not that good at it, but given the state that the world is in right now, there's no golfing. We both do a lot of walking. We have a beautiful, huge park here next to us called Stanley Park. It's a great place to walk. And I am also, personally, I like to walk alleys. So they're always more interesting than the sidewalks. So I do a lot of alley walking too. And I usually get an hour and a half or 2 hour walk in every day. Very little shopping. We sort of schedule our shopping for early mornings and once a week. So tomorrow is my big shop, although there's always the emergency run to the liquor store for some more gin.
Yeah. So what was it like being in Stargate?
Well, that's a long, long time ago now. Just so everyone knows, it was a long time ago. I was a young man then. it was odd when I can remember going to the audition, and it was for a military man, and I've never sort of considered myself to be much of a military guy. And I got the job, and I was never really comfortable in it until uh, partway through the series. Mayborn is sentenced to death for treason, um, and then Jack needed me to help him out on something, so I talked him into taking me along, and then I managed to get away, and I got to play Mayborn as a kind of a street guy in the just a really neat guy. He was much more fun than being the military dude. Um, it's odd when you get parts often. Uh, he was kind of a one-dimensional guy until that sort of transformation happened, and then he became the kind of asshole you can hate but you love. So.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed the last, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 or 6 episodes a lot. Not that I didn't enjoy the others. It's always nice to get in front of a camera and try to discover what the writer's looking for. It was really interesting too, because he started off really two-dimensional, and then even as the military guy, there would be another color that the writer would put in. The different writers would put in each time I came to do another episode. Whoops. If when I went to do another episode, it would have another color in it that I would go, oh, I don't understand that, and then you'd work with that, and then you'd fit it in. And I found as you kept going through episode after episode, the character was getting bigger and bigger and bigger as a human being. So it was a good exercise over a number of years. But it was only 14 episodes of the 200 and some that they did. So it was a great experience.
Yeah. So what are, through your career, what have been some of your favorite things that you've been in?
Oh, well, I think I already said that my favorite stuff is to go back and do theater when I can. But even as an older actor now, there are less opportunities. Um, um, there, this is a joke. Right now, I'm gonna. My joke is that the health system is here in Canada, especially, is very good, and there's too many actors living too long, and there's only a certain amount of parts for us all, and it was better when more of them died off younger. But I might have been one of those guys. So, anyway, that's a total joke. Uh, in hitting into my 40s and 50s, I got to play a lot of really nice parts on stage, and but those things don't happen anymore. But it's still nice when you do get on stage. You're playing support stuff, but some support stuff is more fun than other support stuff, depending on the writer. The in the film business, in the TV, well, again, it's mostly TV business for me. The way the business has sort of developed here in Vancouver, there was a time when we could get into some big features, but that has gone by the wayside. There almost any part of any real value in a big film, there's usually a Hollywood actor comes up to do them, and rightly so. There's everyone's looking for work, and there are a lot of good actors out there. But there was a time when everybody was busy enough that once in a while we could get our foot into a nice big feature film, and those were always fun. The TV stuff can be a lot of fun as well. Especially, well, I think the movies of the week, like Hallmark is what they do like 40 or 50 Hallmark movies here a year. And you can actually sometimes get a nice part in those. You always have to make sure that you've got a smile on your face and you're a happy person. You can't get too negative on a Hallmark. or too puzzled, uh, yeah, you've always got to be very positive and cheery even if you're sad on a whole. Um, but sometimes the part is big enough that you can actually build a character. You can actually the character will have an arc. It will have a story of its. The character will have a story of its own mixed in with the bigger picture. Um, but as often as not, a lot of the TV opportunities we get here, you're not much of an arc. Your color that they need in the episode. We do a lot of American series up here, much more so than Canadian series. Most of the Canadian series are actually done in Toronto. Once in a while, we get a couple that happen here, and then they kind of disappear. And some of those are very interesting. But um, I don't know if I've mentioned. If you get a nice part, it's great. If you don't get a nice part, it's work. So, um, and that's life. It's not all roses. So,
What made you decide to go into becoming an actor for theater and etc.? What was the impetus for that?
I had gone to an institution here in 1966 called British Columbia Institute of Technology. It was relatively a new educational institution in the province. We had 2 universities going and a couple of small college things, but this was more geared towards um, uh, business people, technical people, um, like I was in the business tech side of things. In and there, you could go into accounting, you could go into hotel, motel management, computer programming, and a couple other things. But there were many kinds of educational things like that weren't taught at universities. So I took the computer programming side of things and ended up with a job in Winnipeg, which is a province of Manitoba in the middle of Canada. Um, um, with some of the cold, well, it's above Fargo, North Dakota. So it's the same kind of weather, like that really cold, minus 35, 40 degrees.
I used to
But
live
it's
in Fargo for a little while. It gets crazy there.
um, so it's an amazing city because it's the home of the Royal Winnipeg Ballet, which is a huge ballet company internationally known globally. It has one of the best theaters in the country, the Manitoba Theatre Center. It has many others, couple of smaller companies, well, more than a few now. But when I was there, well, and sports. So they had a football team, they had a hockey team, and all of those things were really well supported by the city. They would get in their cars at minus 35 degrees and fill up a rink, or fill up the stadiums, or fill up the concert halls and the theater. They were really supportive of the arts. They were really supportive of community. Very different here on the West Coast in Vancouver. And I have a theory about that, but we won't talk about that one. So while I was there, I got involved in amateur theater, and it was just sort of happenstance that I got involved in it, almost accidental. And so within a couple of years, I had joined 5 amateur theater groups. And I was spending more time doing the amateur theater stuff than I was working in my computer job for Air Canada, Air Canada Finance. And so I decided that I really enjoyed this, and I was going to take a shot at it. So I hung up my computer programming license and went off to theater school at the University of Alberta, and just became an actor after that. I was very lucky. I worked a lot in the theater as soon as I got out of theater school, and then fortunately, when the film and TV business hit Vancouver, I was here for that. So that's how it kind of happened.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Well, I know when I did quit Air Canada and go to university, the theater school was a BFA program, Bachelor of Fine Arts program. My father said to my mother, "What's the matter with our kids?" He thought, you never give up a good paying job, and what looked like might be a career. But although he never praised me a lot about what I did on the stage, he always did carry the newspaper reviews to show his friends in the bar. So, uh-huh.
That's cool. So, what are some of the favorite characters you've played on in theater? Do you have a favorite one you've played, or ones you'd like to play, or?
Well, in the early days, I did enjoy doing Shakespeare stuff. Um, uh, so uh, they were lots of fun. Here in Canada, we have an outdoor Shakespeare company called Bard on the Beach. Now, I've never gone and worked for them. They've been going now for, I don't know, 25 years. But I used to go to some of the regional theaters, and Taming of the Shrew was lots of fun. I got to play a couple of times. I got to play Iago in Othello.
Oh,
Uh, um, uh, so those were it was always great to be involved in a production, and I was in a number of productions, not necessarily playing the lead parts, but watching actors delve into them. It's a real education, much more so than you ever get at a theater school, is being involved in a production and watching what goes on. Uh, but over the years, I've done less and less of those over the years, and I think my sort of my favorite stuff in the last 20 years has been the American classics. Um, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I got to play George in that, and that was a huge mountain. It was exhausting, absolutely exhausting, um, and but so fulfilling, and so I don't know, the writing is absolutely amazing. For a little four people play. It's just a killer, and it was great fun. And then I've got to play Willie Loman twice in Death of a Salesman, and that is a magical experience. Um, and I think it's only people who have done Willie realize how magical it is. Well, I think, well, yeah, there's a number of really nice characters in that play, but playing Willie a couple times has really. I just knew the last time I played him, I had reached a peak that I would never even approach again in my life in the theater. That it was. I knew it was all downhill from there. So I think I was about 65 or 66 when I did it. So that's a few years ago. Oh, maybe a little longer. Maybe I was only 64. Yeah, it's like 10 years ago at least. Um, but there's been other nice parts too. Probably things you probably wouldn't know yourself. I've been involved in a fair number of new plays over the years here in Canada. Um, and those are always really interesting places to be. The whole difference between the TV work and the theater work, the amount of time you spend in a rehearsal hall, working through the writer's words and thoughts, and your fellow actors' thoughts, and you get a real chance, you get an opportunity to uh, become fully comfortable with what you do, with what you're doing for an audience out there. And even once the audience comes, you still are things occur to you that you can bring into the performance. The 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 TV stuff is really tough because mostly it's got to do with talking, and then you get a camera rehearsal, and then you shoot it. And there's a number of takes with the big wide lens, and then you come in with little short things. So it's like a day in the rehearsal hall. It's you're discovering as much as you can through the discussion. You're taking every opportunity when the cameras are rolling with a big shot to with a wide shot to try and get as deep as you can into the character, so that when it does finally come into your long close up, then your closer close up, then you're right in your face close up. You've you've found something that might be interesting. It's a process that I've had to learn over the years, and it's never been one that's been comfortable for me. Unlike the stage place, which is what I learned from, and that's why I love it still. It's I went to theater school. I didn't go to television school or film school. So it's golly, I don't think when I got out of theater school I was necessarily that comfortable, but as the years went on, I became quite comfortable. And I'm not totally uncomfortable in front of a TV in doing the TV work. It's just you never feel like you got your feet in the ground. You never feel solid. Now, doing Stargate was really interesting because I got to come back so many times that you do get your feet firmly in the ground if you're there playing the same character that long. So. But you don't get that opportunity very often.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. So,
Uh,
what would your advice be to someone who's starting out in trying to become an actor, whether it's theater or television? What would your advice be to someone who's starting out in that?
well, go at it as hard as you can. Well, not that hard. Yeah, you don't want to look like you're pounding doors down. I don't know what kind of advice to give. There are so many different kinds of actors. Um, uh, uh, when I got out of theater school, I thought there should only be one kind, like me. And over the years, I found out that that's total BS. There's some really exciting people out there that I shake my head at and wish I had half the talent they had, or half the insight they had, or have. Um, so I don't know what to give to a young actor. You just get in there, um, take some classes, get as familiar as you can with what you're doing, and then just try to light the world on fire. Some of you will succeed, more of you won't. um, uh, it's phenomenal. Like, I know in the theater school, I actually went to two little shorter terms. Um, I'm the only actor in my class in the first school that works, and they started with 18. There are two of us that are actors in the class of 12 in the next school I went to, although there's a couple musicians that came out of it that make their living in the arts. Um, and then a teacher or two that came out of that class as well. Very good teachers. So I just get involved in the experience and see what happens, and it'll tell you when you're when you're finished. You'll be so frustrated that you'll leave and get, as my father said, a real job. Um, uh, but for anyone that's in there trying, I absolutely wish them my best. Like, go for it. Yeah. That's that's all the help I can give.
Well, thank
And
you so much thank you
and they
so much
do
for doing this. It's
well.
been really fun talking to you. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being part of this Comic Con.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. Now, where are you in Central Daylight Saving Time?
I'm near South Dakota actually.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
It's
Uh,
snowing today, so it's happy spring.
I know well, when you said Central Standard Time, I know you probably switched your clocks, didn't you, in
Yeah,
springtime? Yeah.
yeah, that's been
So
fun.
I started out having fun with you, and then it got very confusing with the time stuff. So when we were setting this up, so um, well, it's very nice to meet you. Now I got a face with a name. That's kind of cool. Um, and thanks for all the work that you do
Well,
back
thank
there.
you so much. Thank you so much. I was really excited to meet you and talk with you after seeing you on the show for so long. And so
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Okay. And then something's going to happen when in the next few days? Next week?
Yes. Yes, it's gonna go live on the website and everyone can watch it. So
Okay. Is
thank
this
you
going to
so
be,
much.
will this be Zoom too, or?
hmm Yes, this
Okay.
will just be recorded for people to watch. So yeah.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Nice meeting you again.